Good evening, and welcome to Wednesday Matters, because it does. This is the time in the week when we all stop and kind of evaluate and recalculate and see how things are going. Um, I've nightgowned. It says it's hump day, and I think it is. It is. It's a chance for all of us to take a deep breath and say, am I going where I wanted to go? Are things turning out the way I want them to turn out? Do I need to make some midweek adjustments? Where am I? So here's our chance to do that together. And I love doing that together. Hi, Heidi. Welcome. Blessings to you too, sweetheart. Always good to see your name and know that you are there. You hold a very special place in my heart. It has something to do with balloon releases back before we knew we weren't supposed to do that. Long time ago. Long time ago. So, here we are. It's Wednesday. How's your week going? How are things unfolding in your life this week? Is it going the way you'd like it to go? Or do you need to make some mid-course adjustments? That's why we're here. To talk about how we can think differently, maybe, about our lives if we need to do that, or how we can stop and appreciate our lives if we need to do that, or just figure out what it is we need and want to do to make the rest of the week spectacular. I wasn't here, I was here last Wednesday. I was not here last Sunday at noon for our Facebook Live meeting. And those of you who checked in know why. We lost our precious little puppy Truffles on Sunday, and I just wasn't in any shape to talk. He was having seizures. We knew it was time, and there's no way I could get around just crying. So I did. And he's gone now, but he's gone to a better place. I know that for him. I absolutely know that for him. And heaven's a better place because Truffle's in it. Hi, Jennifer. Hello, darling. Hello, Kirk. I'm going to assume that the we includes Kirk. Heidi says she's been directed here, so it's time to listen. I think I've got some interesting stuff to talk to you about tonight. Susan, your heart is always full and wonderful. Hello, Laura. My goodness. Yay, I love the company I keep. I am so glad that you are all here and ready. I am. And we'll just kind of see where the evening takes us, won't we? What you're going to get a dose of tonight is Emma Curtis Hopkins, which I said last Wednesday I would have talked about, but I wanted to catch you all up on what was actually going on. So I was going to talk about Emma on Sunday, and then I didn't talk on Sunday. I just cried on Sunday. But I'm ready to talk about Emma. It's her turn, and she deserves this. She's one fabulous lady. I think I'd like to be like Emma when I grow up. Thank you, Heidi. Thank you. Emma's a fireball. So we're going to talk about the fireball. But first, I want to talk to you about a couple of other little things. As most of you know, if you've been hanging around here, it's been a rough couple of weeks. And thank you for your patience and understanding, and for your thoughts and your prayers. They really did help me get through a kind of harrowing time. You know, I'd say that 2020 is not going to go down as one of my very favorite all-time years. But it's only September, and some really great stuff could still happen. So I'm going to hold off on on the judgment thing, and just say that so far it's been interesting in that way that interesting has of being. I did, however, discover that some really good things are happening even while all this stuff is going on, and I wanted you to know about it. So first, Unity World Day of Prayer is tomorrow, and there is a link to it just under this talk, maybe a couple of things down. Participate. You will be so glad that you did. You can submit prayer requests. You can light a candle and see how many other people are joining you in prayer around the world. And there's more, but I'll let you discover that for yourself. It's a fabulous tradition, and I really want to share it with you. As I said, I've put a link to the activities below, so all you have to do is click when you're ready. So that's Unity World Day of Prayer, which is titled this year, Moving from Fear to Faith. Good title. Fits what's going on in the world, don't you think? And, drum roll please, I'm so bad at that. Bernie Siegel has a new book, and I just know you have to have it. It's called No Endings, Only Beginnings, A Doctor's Notes on Living, Loving, and Learning Who You Are. And right now, the Kindle edition on Amazon is only $1.99. So I've posted a link to that as well. Siegel's books are legendary and have changed so many lives. I haven't read this one yet, but I've read the reviews, and I have no reason to believe that it is anything less than absolutely transformative. And the price for the Kindle edition is off the charts fabulous. Siegel suggests writing your own Bible. Bible 2, he calls it. A book of inspiration and awareness that is uniquely your own, created out of those thoughts and ideas that have touched and inspired your life. I know my Bible too will have an abundance of quotes from Dr. Bernie Siegel, because he thinks right, and he makes a huge difference. So there's my commercial for the evening. I hope it motivates you to make a trip to Amazon and to Unity as soon as we are done here, and that those little journeys will change your life. I know they will. I know they will. I don't usually plug a whole bunch of other stuff, but both of those two things seemed really important tonight. So if you're here, maybe that's what you're here for, is to hear about them. But stick around anyway. Don't leave yet, because we have more to talk about. And there's Emma. There's Emma, and you gotta hear about Emma. Let's see. Yeah, yay, Emma. Oh, it's been a couple of weeks. And some of Emma's thoughts have kind of helped me get through, you know, that and your prayers and your thoughts. I was amazed at the number of you who made sweet comments and thoughts and prayerful thoughts. And I appreciate that so much. I just can't tell you. I just can't tell you. And it's been uplifting, and it's been heartwarming, and it's been affirmative, life affirming for me. So thank you so very, very much. Thank you. So let me get to Emma, because she's just one heck of a lady, and if you don't already know her, I can't wait for you to meet her, because she's pretty spectacular. So Emma. Emma, you know, if you read Wikipedia, and I do, Emma was an American spiritual author and leader. Born on September 2nd, her birthday was last Wednesday, in 1849 in Connecticut. She was, Wikipedia style, a gifted teacher and lecturer. She initially studied Christian Science with Mary Baker Eddy, and eventually worked as an editor with the Christian Science Monitor. But at some point, she broke with Mrs. Eddy, and how that happened and what happened will remain with them and with the multiple books that have been written on this subject. However, just to give you a little bit of insight, Emma is quoted as having told her original Christian Science practitioner that if Eddy did not give her the next normal class and authority over all of Christian Science west of Buffalo, I will sweep her off the face of the earth. So I suspect that you could add to Emma's list of attributes the word feisty and determined and committed and fearless. Whatever the case, Emma broke off and started her own school, which led ultimately to the beginning of the New Thought movement. Emma was a primary theologian. Her thoughts were her own and were unique, and as I said, she was fearless. She was a teacher, a writer, a feminist, a mystic, and a prophet. In her own ministry, she ordained hundreds of people, including many women, at what she named, with no tie to Christian Science, the Christian Science Theological Seminary of Chicago. She was ultimately called the teacher of teachers because of the number of her students who went on to found their own churches or to become prominent in the New Thought movement. Ernest Holmes, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, Melinda Kramer and Nona Brooks, founders of Divine Science, and Harriet Emily Cady, author of Unity's cornerstone text, Lessons in Truth. Hopkins went on to found Emma Hopkins College of Metaphysical Science, which focused on training women as spiritual leaders. Hopkins believed that mankind was supposed to live through 3 spiritual ages, which corresponded to the Holy Trinity. God the Father represented the patriarchies of the past. God the Son represented Jesus Christ in the freeing of human thought. And in the present age of God, the Holy Spirit would place women in charge. Don't you love it? We're back, ladies. Hopkins thought of the Holy Spirit in terms of the Shekinah, the mother comforter, the female principle. And so she truly believed that it was time for the women to be leaders of the spiritual world. So yay for us. Emma's last student was Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science. She died at her home in Connecticut on April 8th, 1925, at the age of 75. The teacher of teachers. I mean, what an appellation, what an honor, what a truth. You can hear echoes of her words in the writings of all of the New Thought teachers, all of them. But I thought it might be kind of fun tonight to hear directly from her, or at least through her writings. So what I've done is I've collected a few of her many, many thoughts and thought we might consider them in the light of the 21st century, to see how they hold up in the light of current events. So let me start with what may be my favorite quote. Emma wrote, "The world will persist in exhibiting before you what you persist in affirming the world is. What you say is what you get. What you insist upon persists, doesn't it? Your word is law." Emma knew that. And that what you keep affirming is your reality or the world's reality, in fact, becomes reality. I think too often we forget that. We think as long as I'm praying in clear, or as long as I'm reading my books in clear, or as long as I'm thinking real straight, I'm clear. But then that other stuff kind of slips out sometimes, doesn't it? Our opinions about politics, our opinions about our leaders. And the more we say that and affirm that, the more we cement that. Now, I'm not going to say I've never done it. I'm not even going to say I don't occasionally do it now. I am going to say I'm working on it. And I am. And I hope you are. Because the world will persist in exhibiting before you what you persist in affirming the world is. Thanks, Emma. Speaking about wallowing in past mistakes, which of course none of us ever do, Emma had this to say. "You have no idea how much of the inefficiency of mankind comes from thinking about the wrongdoings of others and of ourselves. Is nothing more miserable than to feel that by some mistake in life you have not amounted to what you might have, and that your misfortunes all hinge on that mistake." Ooh. I don't know how far any of us may have gone with that. But I know that there are times and things and decisions that I've made that I have regretted. Do I believe they changed my life? I know they changed my life. But to judge that as a bad thing, well, I think that's what Emma's trying to get us around. So to update Emma somewhat, allow me to say simply, get over it and move on. Life is too short to live in the past, yours or anyone else's. How often, I wonder, do we decide that something we have done or not done, or said or not said, has changed everything, and not necessarily for the best? It's time to get past that. It's time to know that God, the universe, life is on our side. And that whatever we have done or not done, or said or not said in the past, that's the past. time to get over it and move on. Emma wrote, if God is your world, what have you to fear? I love that it's worded as a question, because questions make you think, don't they? If God is your world, what have you to fear? With God, all things are possible. The undoing of things, the doing of things, whatever is necessary, but there is nothing to fear if God is your world. Now, if something else is your world, you might be giving yourself a great deal to worry about. So stop. Focus on God, and all else will come together. Won't it? Won't it? So Emma also wrote, I do not believe in a mixture of good and evil in the world or in myself. All is good. What if we really believed that? What if we really believed that all is good and acted accordingly? I know it's a pretty big order. And there are times when we look at the world or look at our lives and say, no, this is not good, this is not good. But you know, if we keep saying this is not good, this is not good, then it's not good, and it's not going to get good because we're not giving it the chance to do that. What if we said, I know it's all good, even if I don't see it yet? I know that this thing, this event, this situation has a blessing in it, even if I don't see it yet. I know that there is a blessing in it. I know that it is good, and I claim the good. Just saying. Just saying. More Emma. If you will look into the science of spirit, you will see that your life is meant to be sustained by the science of God and not by the science of matter. That one requires some thinking too. A lot of Emma's stuff requires some thinking. That's good for us. It's good for us to think. Emma's talking about spiritual science. What a concept. Provable, principled, constant science. Consistent science based on the premise of God and not the presence or lack of material things. Emma's talking about living life from a faith-based, spiritually solid foundation. It takes practice. Everything takes practice. But oh, what a difference that practice can make in our lives. Okay, I love this one. Maybe this one's my favorite. Oh, it's hard. There's so many good ones. Emma says, if you can redden your face with a thought, you can straighten your crooked bones with a thought. Let me say it again. If you can redden your face with a thought, blush because you're blushing, because you can straighten your crooked bones with a thought. What Emma is saying, of course, is that your thinking affects your body. Your thinking can change things. Your face that was perfectly normal because you were embarrassed turns bright red. Then you can use that same power of thought to straighten your crooked bones. Or do what else? How many things might you do if you simply believed that you could? And I particularly love that one because it also says to me that Emma had quite a sense of humor. And in case you were curious, she was actually pretty good looking. We'll post a picture of her. Emma was amazing. More Emma. There is no combination of experiences. There is no combination of experiences so hard, so black, so complicated, but that God can work a miracle in them. Oh, really? Oh, really? What if we stopped telling ourselves that the problem was just too big, that we couldn't overcome it? What if we just had the faith to turn it over to the power of creation? What might we accomplish then? What if we stopped saying to ourselves, this is too big, this is too hard, I can't, what? What if we just had the faith to turn it over? To know that there is no combination of experiences so hard, so black, so complicated, but that God can work a miracle in them. Here's a great Hopkins prophecy. Let me tell you, she wrote, the 12 effects of thinking of the Spirit. Thinking of the Spirit. You will have life, health, strength, support, defense, thinking faculty, wise speech, ability to record well your ideas, joyous song, skill in carrying out your principles, beauty of judgment, and great love. The 12 effects of thinking of Spirit. Wow, who wouldn't want that life? What is there in there that you would not want and wouldn't celebrate having in your life? Emma says all that you really have to do is think of Spirit first. She apparently even told her students that they didn't have to understand all of this in the beginning, that they just had to begin practicing it. Then, or sometimes thereafter, she would tell this story. A woman who had no faith, but had been told what wonders might be wrought through faith, sat down and deliberately determined to learn it. She sat down in the midst of her poverty and loneliness with her little children about her and practiced learning. She seemed shiftless to her neighbors, but it was astonishing what luck that woman always had. Something good was always turning up, and her children were all talented, beautiful, and prosperous. Well, they do say that practice makes perfect. I think too often we get stuck in wanting to understand it all. Why does it work? Tell me how it works. And we go left-brained on our lives, which is not bad. I mean, one of the things I love about religious science is that they tell you not to leave your brain at the door. Bring it on in with you. Keep thinking. But Emma says, Emma, who taught Ernest Holmes of religious science and taught Charles and Myrtle Fillmore of unity, Emma, who taught these people, said you don't have to understand it all in the beginning. Just start practicing it. Wow. Okay, so this next quote by darling Emma reminds me of Thaddeus Golas and the Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment. She writes, and if you heard me quote Lazy Man's Guide or have a copy yourself, oh please, I hope you do. It's the most wonderful thing. She wrote, "There is one indestructible substance pervading all things, from the remotest star to the nearest dust particle. This substance is finer than any substance cognized by the senses. It is finer than the attraction of gravitation, cohesion, destruction. It can only be cognized by the mind. It can only be handled by the thoughts of the mind. And only the understanding of the mind can make it useful. He who by any manner of thinking handles this substance soon finds himself experiencing vital renewals throughout body and mind. He has begun the animation of the particular from the universal, an art eagerly sought by the ancients. There is one indestructible substance pervading all things, from the remotest star to the nearest dust particle." Science tells us that whether we are looking through a microscope or a telescope, we are looking at the same thing. And that if we can ultimately break an atom down to its very finest parts, what we will discover there is intelligence. What we will discover there is ultimate intelligence. And Emma strongly suggests that we make friends with that. Make friends with the infinite. She writes, "When we know God, we have touched the very substance which can inform us how to work each minute wisely, so as to be clothed and fed and housed and healed without any other process than simply knowing God." It is the ideas of God which, if you shepherd well, will get you into that state of mind called heaven, where you have health, judgment, prosperity. The ideas of God. Clothed, fed, housed, and healed without any other process than simply knowing God. Then, in case you want instructions for being spiritual, Emma writes, "When we are spiritual, we do not try to bring great things to pass, yet they come to pass. The most wonderful achievements of mankind have been brought to pass by confidence in some wonder-working, unseen power. The most wonderful achievements of mankind have been brought to pass by confidence in some wonder-working, unseen power." That's the word, isn't it? Confidence. Confidence in it. Belief in it. Trust in it. Going to it. Thinking first of it. And should you get your entire life in order, which she absolutely suggests you can do if you will simply think on spirit, and you should then want to make a difference in your world, which most of us really would like to do in our world, Emma says there are ways of thinking about your environment which will make you like a harp in the fingers of love. So enchanting will be your silent mind to the world-hurt traveler. So blessed will sound your voice to the bruised child of human hardships. You need not worry about whether you shall speak or not. Take the fresh morning for giving thanks and glad praises unto the Spirit, and speak forth with freedom some lesson of this science. And if you are wondering what to say when you speak forth, Emma says, always high vision stirs right speech, silent or audible, and right speech, silent or audible, stirs right convictions, and the accomplishment of the seemingly impossible is the outcome. High vision stirs right speech, and right speech, silent or audible, stirs right convictions, and the accomplishment of the seemingly impossible. It begins with the high vision, and everything else follows. So, what I know for all of us is as dedicated as we may be, there are times when there are too many thoughts going in too many directions at once. I used to say my thoughts are bumping into each other in the middle of my head. And it's hard then to sort out what you really want to be saying or thinking when they're all in there jumbled up together. Emma has an answer. She writes, the ancient Bible taught that it is good to tame the mind, which is difficult to hold in and very flighty. Rushing whither and listeth, but once tamed, it will bring you great happiness. And let us say within our own minds, now. Now. Don't you love that in one of those times when your mind is just going hither and thither and everywhere, and the thoughts are bumping into each other in the middle of your head, to be able to focus for just a second on the presence of God, just for a second on the impossibility of God not being able to handle something, and be able to say simply now, right here, right now, me, God, now, this. Don't you love it? I love it. I love Emma. So for those of you that are thinking it all sounds great, but hard, Emma has an answer for you too. Of course she does. She writes, the only thing worth working for is a right state of mind. Say positively, I do not believe it takes hard work to succeed in God's universe. Well, doesn't that just, doesn't it? I do not believe it takes hard work to succeed in God's universe. You know, I've contended for years that there must be a delegation of duties in the universe, and we've got to learn it. Yes, there are those things that are yours to do, but not everything. And there are those things that it is better to bring others in to do, but not everything. There are also those things that are God's to do. And we must differentiate. You know, I love the old story about the guy who complained to God because he wasn't winning the lottery week after week after week. And the voice of heaven projected itself into his ear and said simply, give me a break, buy a ticket. There are those things that are yours to do. Do those things. Buy the the ticket. Read the book. Go out and do what is yours to do. And then there are those things that we need help with. Prayer is often one of those. When we can't see the light for our own darkness, then ask for prayer. But there are also things that are flat out God's to do. And if we're not bothering God with a bunch of picky on little things that we should be doing for ourselves, then I think we'll feel a whole lot freer in asking God to do the God things. Emma wrote, God works through me to will and do that which ought to be done by me. Be sure this is true. It is a great rest to think how many unnecessary things we have been doing that we are now relieved from doing. Render unto God that which is God. If you find yourself stuck in a long-running and seemingly unsolvable challenge, Emma to the rescue. Emma says, this too is good. This too is God. This too is for me, and I demand to see the blessing in it for me. Take your business as it is, she writes, and praise divine love that there is a strong, wise way out of your dilemma. So, back to the beginning. The world will persist in exhibiting before you what you persist in affirming the world is. If you think it's hard, it's hard. If you think it's impossible, it's impossible. If you think it's empty for you. But if you think it's full and rich and wonderful, so it is. Emma says the man who molds the vital ethers of omnipresence by right thoughts about its bounty brings forth bountifully. And then I found a short prayer, or perhaps a song. Be still and know that I am God. Look up to fields white for harvest. So shall old conditions dissolve. So shall the Holy Spirit arrive, white breath that makes strengthening wholeness. God lives in me in his strength and glory. He lives in me as my strength divine. By the light of his love, I read life's story, and the key of the world is mine. And finally, dear Emma asks a simple question. I repeat it for you. If God will support a man who spends all his time in spiritual devotions, why not devote your life to the Spirit? If God has all wisdom, why not make God your counselor, your guide, your friend? Why not? There's so much more. But I hope that I've pointed out to you that time has not tarnished or diminished the words of the teacher of teachers. Last Wednesday would have been her 170th birthday. For me, and I trust for you, it is a joy to hear her words and celebrate her brilliance. and wish her many more life-changing, world-changing, mind-changing years ahead. Happy belated birthday, Emma. We have all been blessed by your presence in our lives. What a woman. Teacher of teachers. I get goosebumps every time I say that. I mean, for those of us that think highly, and God knows I do, of Ernest Holmes and Charles and Myrtle Fillmore and Melinda Kramer and Nona Brooks and, oh my, so many more. This is where they started. This is where they got it from. Read up on Emma on your own. She's a fascinating character. And she's written some amazing things. You are all far enough along in your studies that I know you could handle Emma now. I don't necessarily recommend her to newbies. For that, we'll stick with Ernest Holmes for now. But Emma was dynamite. And they knew it. They all knew it. That's why they studied with her. And maybe that's why it would be good for all of us to study with her as well. Yes, Wonder Woman, indeed. I'm checking up on your messages here. Yeah, thank you, Emma. Cax says, be sure and share this episode with others. What a powerful talk. Well, we give Emma credit for all of that. But, you know, all you have to do is, when it's all said and done and when it's up and posted, just click the little share button and you can send it wherever you'd like to send it. And I thank you for doing that. It makes a difference. For those of you that had never met Emma before, I hope you like her. I just love her. I just think she's wonderful. She's changed a lot of lives, many of whom went on to change a lot of lives. Be one of them. Be one of them. Listen to the talk again, not for me, but to hear Emma's wisdom and to learn more. She's just amazing. Susan said she's the woman I'm putting a table setting out for. Yeah, wouldn't you just love to be able to have a dinner party with just a few of your closest friends? Emma Curtis Hopkins, Ernest. Yeah. I think Myrtle would have been an easier guest at a dinner party than Charles, but I'm not sure about that. The Fillmores kind of come as a couple. Who else would you invite? There's the thought. If you're going to write your own Bible too, as Dr. Siegel suggests, One of those things might be a guest list for a dinner party. Who would you invite and why? And would they mix well? Now, I think that if you invited Emma and then some of her students, it would be a wild evening with all of them comparing notes on what they'd done and how they'd done it, and I'm sure disagreeing about some things. If Emma disagreed with Mary Baker Eddy, she started it. What else might you put in that Bible? What other thoughts? And don't assume that they all have to be other people's thoughts, because you've got some pretty good ones of your own. If you don't journal, why? It's such an amazing practice. Take a little time every day. You know, you don't need anything fancy. You don't have to go buy a leather-bound journal. Although I tend to, but you know me. I would do that. It can be, you know, a notebook with college-lined paper or regular lined paper so that you can write bigger for those times when you want to. How will you set your Bible 2 up, and will you honor your own thoughts and put them down for posterity? You know, you can notice on the front says, don't open this or anybody else read this until 10 years after my death if you want. I think it might be kind of fun to have the kids know what their old lady was thinking. So, that's Emma. I hope I've introduced you well, for those of you who didn't know her before, and I hope I've reminded you of an old friend for those who have. She was a one of a kind, as we all are, as you are. And she put Mary Baker Eddy in her place, and not too many people did that, ever. Listen to her words. Hold them in your heart. Know that they're true. And remember that the universe will insist upon creating for you that which you affirm the world is. Thanks for the reminder, Emma. Let's take a moment and pray together before this lovely evening is over. It's been so good being with all of you. Thank you, I needed that. So let us take just a moment. Close your eyes if that's you know the drill. Close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. If not, just soft focus. But allow your thoughts to go within, to move into that sacred holy of holies within you. Leave troubles and concerns and to-dos outside for now. You can pick them up again on the way out. They'll wait. But for now, simply be with the God within you. Feel the power and the presence there. Feel the wisdom. Feel the ability to surmount any challenge. If God be with you, what is there to fear? Breathe in that power. Become acutely aware that it is within you, has always been within you, just as you found it now, so you can always turn to it. It is not just a power loosed in the world, it is a power loosed within you. And it is creation. It is healing. It is wisdom. It is abundance. It is joy without measure. Whatever it is your heart seeks, let your mind take you there, and you will find it. I know for each of us tonight that the presence of God empowers, protects, loves, enjoins us to do good in the world and in our own lives, to believe in the perfect personal presence of God. We know it. We accept it. We are grateful for it. And we simply allow it to be. Because it is. And so it is. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for sharing this talk. It's easy to do. Thank you for your support, prayerfully, emotionally, financially. Mostly thank you for being you. For being the result of the lessons of the teacher of teachers, and for being the presence of God as love and kindness and wisdom and creation in this world. I would bless you, but you are already blessed, so I simply acknowledge it and know that it is so. And so it is.